Hello everyone, my name is Abdulaziz Afan from Indonesia and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So in this video, we are going to learn together how we self-hosting LLMs like DeepSeek, Gemma, or our favorite LLMs in VPS server. So let's get started. Alright, so first thing first, I want to say thank you to all of you who have supported me to this channel. And now, you can also support me by click super thanks from this video, or you can just join membership on this YouTube channel. Alright, as I said earlier, in this video, we are going to learn how we self-hosting LLMs in VPS server. And maybe you have ever wondered whether it's possible to run large language model or simply say LLM like DeepSeek, Gemma, or other LLM in your server. If yes, you are in the right place. And you know, this day, open source LLMs are becoming more accessible, and self-hosting is not just for experts anymore. In this video, we are going to learn how we can deploy LLM step by step, privately, securely, and without relying on a big platform. And to make this possible, we are using a VPS from Fairfax, a solid hosting provider that gives us dedicated resource and great performance, which is exactly what we need for running large model. As you can see here, Fairfax is a hosting provider that comes with fast, secure, and affordable web hosting solution. Here, we also see like reseller hosting, web hosting, private server, domain, email, and so on. So let's explore by scrolling down. We will see we get several options such as web hosting. It starts only from 0.60 per month. We'll get all these features such as unlimited bandwidth, free daily backup, free domain registration, 24/7 tech support, and also the important things, 45-day money back guarantee. And for reseller hosting, this is Graph for scalability. With this, Fairfax reseller enable hosting up to 200 cPanel account within a single plan. And it just starting from $1.80 per month. With this, we get a feature such as 15 up to 200 cPanel account, up to 4 GB RAM per cPanel account, and also 24/7 migration team, and so on and so on. You can read all the details here through link in the description below. And also, we can choose VPS hosting if we want a dedicated resource and full root access, that giving us ultimate control over our hosting environment. It starting just from $10 per month. We will get up to 16 GB of dedicated RAM, and then up to 320 GB dedicated NVMe, and also 24/7 migration team, unlimited traffic, 7-day money back guarantee. Here, let's see what Fairfax offers for us, like excellent cPanel platform, 24/7 support, and also easy WordPress management, robust security. As we can see, it will protect our site, our apps from malware, DDoS protection, daily backup, and so on and so on. And yeah, also here, if we choose VPS hosting, we can maximize performance and flexibility, which is if our app have a high traffic, which is solid infrastructure, high uptime, and stable performance, keep our site or our app accessible at all times here. So here, like I said, 24/7 support, we can just start live chat or by emailing. Here, by default, Fairfax give us free SSL certificate. Here, every website hosts on Fairfax by default is auto SSL, as we can see here, and free migration. And the important things of hosting that is a global network, as we can see here. And here it's starting from Dallas to Australia, that we can see here every continent has a server here. And also here we will see like WHM NC panel, global server location. We can choose like London, New York, Singapore, and more, and so on and so on. You can read all here. Alright, so let's select a hosting. Here we can select web, reseller, or VPS. So right now, let's select a private server and then VPS hosting. And with this option, we will see 4 options again, like unmanaged Linux VPS, unmanaged Windows, managed Linux, or managed Windows. But for now, let's select unmanaged Linux VPS, which is we can do it by ourselves, starting from scratch here. And for now, let's select Linux server D16, which is best for high demand need, which is we will get 8 dedicated CPU, 16 GB of RAM, 320 GB NVMe. It can deliver maximum performance. And it's just around $30 per month. We can just click start now. And yeah, the important things with Firepack, we get full root access, scalable plan, and fast NVMe storage, as we can read here. Whether we are experimenting with AI, hosting app like a general app, or learning DevOps, this is a great place to start. So I've also included a link in the description below, so you can try Firepack for yourself, and you can just follow this, how we can self-host LLM in this VPS on Firepack. Alright, so just start now. And you can you just need to paint this. So we can see here, you can input all field here. And because I have checked out this Linux server D16, so I can just log into my panel. As we can see here, this is my Linux D16. Alright, so yeah, this is my Linux server D16. As we can see, this is unmanaged server. I need to manage all things here by myself. So let's learn together. First thing first, we need to get an access to SSH. As we can see here, we have an IP and also username, which is by default is root. And for the password, we can scroll down and we will see it generate automatically. So yeah, let's open your favorite terminal here. And before we jump into the detail, actually, we can install or run LLM in many ways. We can run it locally on our device. We can use such as LM Studio, anything LLM, and so on. But we want to try installing LLMs in our VPS server, which is with this option, we can access our LLM anywhere, which is we can access it through our mobile phone and yeah, anytime. So first thing first, let's open a terminal, and by default, we need to just type SSH and then the username, which is root, and then add the IP address, and we can just hit an enter and then just say yes. And next, we need to copy a secret product here or the password. We can just copy and then bring here. So yeah, this is my server. As we can see here, this is a Ubuntu 22.4.5. And when we check out this, we need to select operating system. Because I use Linux server, so I prefer to use Ubuntu. So you can choose as you want. But if you want to follow my tutorial, I give a suggestion for you. You can choose Ubuntu. Alright, so this is my server. So I can just say stop. And as we can see in this VPS, I have a CPU as we can see here, eCPU core, and then 16 GB of RAM, and also 320 GB of storage. Alright, and next, we need to install a control panel that we can manage all things easily using control panel. And if you have watched my previous video, in this video, we will using something called Coolify. As you can see here, self-hosting with super power. And next, we can just select this self-host. And then we will get this one-line command. We can just copy this and then bring to SSH here. And then just press enter. Alright, so as I said, actually we can installing LLM using step-by-step like installing Docker and then installing Ollama and then installing OpenWebUI. But with this step, with this control panel, which is Coolify, we can installing all things easily. So I'll show you how easy to install Ollama and OpenWebUI with this control panel. So yeah, basically this Coolify is something open source and self-hostable alternative for Heroku, Netlify, or Vercel. And here, if we hit a dock here, and then we hit services, we will see Ollama here, this is what we need in this video. So what is Ollama? Shortly, Ollama is kind of like a backend to running LLM. And how we interact easily without thinking about the backend facing like a terminal or command line interface, we will use it's called OpenWebUI, which is it's kind of like front end for LLM. As we can see here, OpenWebUI is a web-based interface for interacting with the model. So I can illustrate that OpenWebUI is a front end to connect with Ollama, which is Ollama will communicate with model, which is LLM like DeepSeek, Gemma, or other. So we can read here the detail on Ollama. So basically, we can download and running any large language model using this Ollama. We can install it locally on our device. We can just hit download button and it will automatically download an app that we can run large language model in our device, which is locally. And we will install this Ollama in our VPS, and then we will connecting it with OpenWebUI, which is a web base for interacting to model. So let's see. Alright, it's a congratulations, which is successfully installed Coolify in my VPS server. And to install or to set up all things here, I recommend you to first thing first, make sure your VPS server is fresh installed, which is nothing set up in your VPS. Because maybe if VPS have installed like other service or other app, it will have the same port like this. In this section, Coolify using port 8000. So yeah, we can access Coolify through this public IP. Just copy this and then I'll open this. This is like for the first time we need to set up an account. So I'll speed up this process. Alright, so I have finished set up an account for this Coolify, and then we can just explore by select get started, or we can skip onboarding. Alright, so this is Coolify control panel or Coolify dashboard. So here we will see like dashboard, project, and then server, source, and so on and so on. So as we can see here, by default, it's accessible through our public IP and then port 8000. And I think this is not good. So we can customize the domain. So here I have setting the domain here. We can select a setting and then instant domain, we can say cool.mydomain. So we can set up this as top level domain, or in this video, I'll using subdomain, and then just press save here. We don't need to select SSL certificate, so we can just save, and then let's check this and then proceed. And yeah, and now my Coolify control panel accessible through this domain, which is cool.abdulazizahwan.com. So I need to log in again. Alright, so this is my Coolify, and when we hit this setting, we will see now my instant domain is this. The next step, we need to create a new project here by hit a project button here and then hit add button, and let's name it as LLM or other. And then inside this project, we will see there is no resource here. We can just hit add a new resource. And yeah, by default, Coolify provide a lot of template, a lot of application, a lot of service that we can just pick, and boom, it's automatically setting up for us. So let's find Ollama, and here with this Ollama, we will see three options: Lite LLM, which is this kind of like, I think this is a alternative for Ollama, and then Open Web UI, which is this is just Open Web UI. And the interesting thing here, we see Ollama with Open Web UI. So let's select this, and then we can give a name here. So let's say Ollama Open Web UI. So you can pick a name by yourself, just save, and then we can just hit deploy button here. Alright, let's wait. It's downloading for us. So as you can see here, my VPS server only have CPU without having GPU. And ideally, if we want to run AI or LLM model, we need something called GPU. But let's try in this video, I'll using VPS with only GPU, and it's only 8 CPU cores. Let's back here. Alright, it started. It's still waiting. The Open Web UI starting. And you can also exploring other product from Verpek, such as hosting WordPress and then shared hosting or cloud web hosting. But in this video, I'll using this private server, which is VPS hosting. So maybe you wonder what's different between managed or unmanaged. So here, managed mean that it's a management, automatic update, and we will get 24/7 support, peace of mind. And with this unmanaged Linux VPS, we get full control with root access, powered by NVMe storage for top performance, but we doing by ourselves. But don't worry, whether unmanaged or managed, we will still get 24/7 support if we need. So let's back again. Alright, it's running, and here we can just hit link here and we can select it. And yeah, this is my domain or my URL. So now my Open Web UI is successfully installed in my VPS. So let's back. Now I want to change the domain here by pressing setting and then domain here. I want to change to llm.abdulazizahwan.com and then just press save, and let's back, and we need to restart the app or restart the server. As we can see, we need to restart if we want to apply something like changing a domain or so on. So now it's waiting the Ollama API starting up and also Open Web UI starting up. So here we can also explore Open Web UI. Here, what is Open Web UI? From this documentation, as I said, in the back here, Ollama run using Docker here for GPU only, but in this video, I'll make it simple by installing this Open Web UI and Ollama through control panel. So let's back again. Alright, so it's successfully running with green indicator, and then just go to this. Alright, it's successfully setting up Ollama and Open Web UI. So let's press this get started. As usual, this kind of like first time setup. So we need to set up an account here. So you can skip this process. Just create admin account. This is Open Web UI, and my version right now is 0.6.11 and just okay, let's go. Alright, so this is Open Web UI, which is a web base, or we can say this kind of like front end to interacting with model, which is model on Ollama. So here on the top left, we will see select a model, but by default, we don't have any model yet. So we can just press this hamburger button. And yeah, this kind of like LLM platform like ChatGPT, DeepSeek, Gemini, we will get something like this to type our prompt. And here on the bottom left, let's hit and we will see active user, and then let's press admin panel. Now only me on this platform, which is on this Open Web UI. You can also invite other user if you want, and then this group we can create a group, evaluation, and function, and so on. So let's hit setting button. Here we will get several setting. So let's go to connection, and here let's focus on this Ollama API, and we can hit here button. And because Ollama and Open Web UI install on the same machine, on the same VPS, make sure this connection type is local. But we can also change it to external, and we need to change the URL here if it is not at the same machine. So just save, and then let's hit model here, and we have download button. Let's hit this button and we can download any LLM we want. So let's go to Ollama here, and then we can search a model. Let's say DeepSeek R1. Here we see several options from the smallest one to the biggest one. So now let's select 7 billion parameter, which is this, and then let's back to our Open Web UI, which is this, and then we can just paste the model name. This is the model name, DeepSeek R1 with 7 billion parameter, and then just hit download button, and we will see it's automatically pulling the LLM model. So let's check on our VPS through terminal using EdgeTop. Now my CPU, as we can see, look like this because we just download. And the next model we want to install is Gemma 3. So here in the description, the current most capable model that runs on a single GPU. So let's test this on my VPS don't have GPU. So I'll using this 12 billion 8 GB size, and let's see here. Alright, it's successfully installed. And let's copy this model and paste here, and then hit download button. So in this video, I'll try to install only two model or two LLM model, which is DeepSeek R1 and Gemma 3. DeepSeek R1 is coming from a DeepSeek company, and Gemma is product of Google team. And the difference between Gemma 3 and DeepSeek is DeepSeek have ability to something like thinking. So if we input a prompt, it will process and they will think step by step. And if this Gemma 3 don't have thinking. So let's compare, and then let's see how my VPS handle all things which is don't have GPU. Alright, it's verifying SHA-256. Alright, it's successfully download, and then reload, and let's see. Alright, now I have two options, which is DeepSeek R1 and also Gemma 3 with 7 billion and 12 billion parameter. And now let's first using DeepSeek R1, and let's test using generate a rounded button in Flutter. So we can say a responsive rounded button in Flutter, and then just hit enter. Let's see on terminal. Now CPU load almost 100%, but my server is still working well. Don't have a problem here, as we can see. And as I said earlier, DeepSeek R1 have a thinking here, and this OpenWeb UI still running well, and I can say this is fast. So if we consider to run LLM privately, securely, we can trying to self-host a model that we love, that we want. So it will process in our machine, which is our VPS. Alright, so we see the result here, step-by-step explanation. First, we need to create a custom button widget. We use custom button that inherits from stateless widget. Alright, it's awesome. The result is satisfying, as we can see here. So it's starting, write a code for me, code example. Alright, it's fast. It's also generate for us, like if a statement, it will check is it hover as or not, is it long press or not. So if it's hover, it will, what we say here, we will get something like a outline. Alright, it's awesome. This is a key feature, rounded corner, a shift using border radius, and Evo Snap material design. This is how we use the button. So here we create stateless widget, name it as button. By using this, we can use this button anywhere. We can just import a button here. Alright, it's awesome. So now let's create a new chat, and then let's select geometry. And I need to just copy a prompt from DeepSeek, and then with the same prompt and hit an enter on geometry with 12 billion. All right, awesome. As we can see, it's kind of like a log. It access Olama runner, blah blah blah. As I said, geometry don't have ability to thinking, so it's running on the background, and we will get the result after this process is done. The first trial of geometry taking longer than DeepSeek R1, so let's try again. Delete this chat, and let's select geometry. And if we fill this parameter too high, we can select different model here, like maybe 4 billion or 1 billion. Let's try again. All right, the second trial is quite fast. All right, as I said, geometry don't have ability to think or to thinking, so it's directly respond our prompt. And I don't know whether we will get something like key feature explanation, or yeah, something like explanation. Maybe after this code, we will get something like that. All right, as I guess, we get explanation below the result, like they use elevated button, something like a different approach with this DeepSeek that using something like a custom widget here. And this Gemma, because this Flutter is product from also from Google, they have a different approach here. Alright, so next let's try to install other model with different parameter. Let's select 4 billion. I think it's a lot, but if our VPS having big resource like many CPU and also many GPU, we can consider to use a big parameter, because yeah, bigger parameter will affect with the result. Alright, so this is the result. And next, let's install other model, admin panel, and then setting, model, download button, and then download again, Gemma 3 4 billion. As you can see, my VPS running very well. We don't have like server down and so on. It's running perfectly here. Let's select Gemma 3 4 billion and then copy again from previous chat and then paste here. And now I'm using 4 billion. How fast it is with this 4 billion. I feel this Gemma 3 4 billion will taking longer as before. So let's try to stop. But now it's running. So right now it using custom widget, which is stateless widget. It's similar with DeepSeek R1 response, but it doesn't have condition. Alright, here key improvement. So yeah, as I said, if you think or if you feel like too long to take a time, you can decrease the parameter, because as I said, LLM model need something called GPU, but it also can running on CPU only, as we can see here in this Firepack hosting. I'm using Linux server with CPU only. Alright, so yeah, I think that's all how we self-host LLM model in our VPS server. Just in this video, we are using Linux server with the spec D16, which have 8 CPU and then 6 GB of RAM and 320 GB of NVMe. And as you can see, it's running well, running perfectly smooth without having any error. But again, it depends on the model size. The bigger model will increase the response time. So you can consider using smaller one that can speed up the response. So you can try to host your LLM in your VPS server. Just click link in the description below to get started with Firepack hosting, which is, I can say, Firepack hosting have a reasonable price and competitive price. You can choose as you want, so you can check again like reseller, web hosting, or private hosting. And again, Firepack hosting also provide like hosting for WordPress, set hosting, cloud hosting, email, domain, and so on. You can check link in the description below to get started with this Firepack hosting. So yeah, I think that's all my video today. If you have any questions or comment, just write it down on the comment field. Thank you so much and see you again on the next video.